introduce them, and in fact I request them to introduce themselves because I'm afraid I won't do justice to their laurels that they've done and their achievements through their career. We are joined by Mr. Rahmatullah Javed. He's Chairman Central Standing Committee on SMEs at the Federation of Pakistan Chambers of Commerce and Industry. Dr. Shehzad Amin, Vice President, Union of Small and Medium Enterprises. Dr. Syed Turab Hussain, Associate Professor, Department of Economics, Lahore University of Management Sciences. Dr. Navida Kishnu, Associate Dean, Academics and Internationalization, University of Management and Technology, Lahore. And of course, Mr. Imran Ahmed, Additional Director, State Bank of Pakistan. So I'll walk you through. Rahmatullah Sahab, would you kindly introduce yourself so our audience knows your background, what you have done in your career for SME development? Very briefly, please.
Well, it's been a lot of things told about SME. Small and business enterprises are the most important sector of our economy. And I being one of those who migrated from India in 1947, and I started working myself as a small entrepreneur, started from scratch, and I've been telling my friends that I used to work myself 24 hours to survive, and thereafter I became a mega industrialist, so I know the importance of the SME, and thereafter when I became sufficient and I became self-reliant myself, I really wanted to work for the SMEs of Pakistan, and a lot has been said this morning about SMEs. I don't want to hold my friends to introduce them.
Thank you. Shehzad Amin Sahab, if you could kindly.
My name is Shehzad and I'm Vice President of the Union of I started as a salesman, and I used to sell water filters on the road. I'm sure you have seen people standing on the road selling source water filters. So I'm probably one of them about 25 years ago. And since then, I have been doing great, alhamdulillah. And that also then gave me an opportunity and encouraged me to help SME sector. And since past about 10 years now, I'm actually helping SME in building their business plans, feasibilities, and market route to market penetration. Thank you.
Thank you very much for inviting me today. My name is Turab Hussain. As was mentioned by Nadia, I'm teaching at LUMS. I'm an economist by training. My area of research is essentially trade and development and also industrial policy. I'm not going to bore you with what all I've done, but something which is relevant. We worked on the industrial policy of Pakistan in 2011 and 12 for the Ministry of Industries and Production. That document is somewhere there, perhaps lying on a shelf. It was never implemented. More recently, we worked on trading relations with the neighbors, in particular looking at Pakistan and India trade. And currently, we're working, there's a team of economists, LUMS and CDPR, working for SMEDA and Ministry of Industries in revising the 2007 SME policy. Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, my name is Navida Kishnu. This is my 10th year in Pakistan. I've worked all over the world, teaching in England, in America, in the Middle East. And I came here with a long list and agenda to do things in Pakistan. And thank God, you know, I've had a lot of help to do those things like internationalization, community work, accreditations of universities and things like that. I am here representing academia, and I'm very much interested in this interaction of academia and industry. SMEDA has been a partner for 3 years now, and we've made a lot of advances in this area of interacting with each other. I still would like to go see academia and industry go a long way as far as SMEs are concerned, let us do the research and you do the work. So that is where I've come as a representative of the academia.
I'm Imran Ahmed, representing the Central Bank, that is State Bank of Pakistan. I am a very humble supporter of the cause of promoting and developing banking in Pakistan, and we have been interacting with all the stakeholders, particularly SMEDA has been on the forefront, and a few other stakeholders, and are really driven to support this sector. So I have worked on many areas in Central Bank like inspection and foreign exchange, but since I was put in serving the SME, I really don't want to leave this area and continue to serve supporting this area. So hopefully, as Ms. Nadia continues with the session, we will talk more about SME policy as well as financing policy. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Just a bit of background for those who are unaware of it. Pakistan's first SME policy was approved by the federal government in 2007, and very recently the government has launched an exercise of revision of this SME policy, which is ongoing at the moment. We'll talk a bit about that during the discussion as well. To set the tone, I think I'll start with the lady over here, since she mentioned how important research is. How do you think the research can, a connect can be developed between the government and the academia in conducting research on areas which are of interest in terms of policy interventions?
Actually, you know, we, because my team and I, we believed in this thing, so we started researching on our own. I would really, ideally speaking, I would like a fund or something dedicated to research in this area, because there is no formal setup for doing research. But one of our students did research, did his MS thesis in SME, you know, seeing how the policy works, and from the perspective of the people who are, it's implemented on them. So we did the research ourselves, and there are a lot of outcomes of that research which would help SMEDA in having a policy which is good for all. First of all, there is no single definition for policy. SMEDA did a very great job in 2007 having a single definition, but it's not good for all. Every single organization has a different definition for it. For instance, you know, I was thinking, and talking about the definition of SMEs, we cannot have a single definition, because how can you treat an organization who has 250 employees, compare it with an organization that has 20 employees? So we need to somehow have sectoral differences, accordingly have you know, a definition according to the sectors that we are you know, dealing with. Also, small versus medium, you know, we cannot have the same definition for them. Then we can talk about business environment, we can talk about export enhancement. All these areas, all these themes should be very well researched, and academia can join hands to do that. We just need a forum where there are funds to do that. So let's talk more about it.
Yes, thank you so much for pointing out the SME definition. That was one of the critical things that we wanted to touch upon. So I direct my question to Imran Saab. What do you think? The State Bank has its own definition, and of course there's another definition which was approved in the federal cabinet, and there are different organizations in Pakistan that collect data which define SME separately. So what is your take on the SME definition?
It has been very rightly said that there should be a standard definition adopted by all the stakeholders in Pakistan, be it SCCP, be it Central Bank, or particularly the taxation authorities. And State Bank, realizing the importance of the definitional issues, you know, Central Bank issued the prudential regulations for banks in Pakistan. And previously, since 2003, we had prudential regulations, general definition of SMEs, But in 2013, we defined small enterprises separately from medium enterprises. So at this point of time, we have separate definition for small enterprises and separate definition.
So what would you think if we were to introduce a sectoral split within those definitions? What would your view be on that?
My view is that it will complicate the things because there are various other stakeholders, particularly in the banking sector. They become confused as to which definition should they adopt. I mean, for us, for example, at this point of time, we have defined trading little bit different from manufacturing. But we are thinking that this anomaly should be done away with and there should be a standard definition. But I really, I'm really support that there should be, because you know that under the policy for the promotion of SME finance, we have certain recommendation for with respect to taxation. But definitely, if we send certain regulation with respect to SME's taxation, FPR or any taxation authority will evaluate according to their definition. We are thinking in terms of our own definition, but of course, I'm sure that under the leadership of SMEDA as well as Ministry of Industries, will soon reach a consensus definition.
Right, coming to Turab on this, since you are currently in the exercise of, coming up with a policy, and SME definition is one of the important pillars of that policy. Well, what kind of feedback have you received?
Okay, so we just very recently finished a stakeholder analysis. So we went around the country, we visited around 11 cities and did a sample survey of around 200 firms. So SME definition is a critical issue because, if you're talking about any special facilities, exemptions, they'll be based on how you categorize them in terms of size and turnover, employment, and so on. So let's look at what the State Bank's definition is. So I don't think that was mentioned. So State Bank defines, so the cutoff for medium enterprises is 250 employees in 800 million rupees turnover. And it's been bifurcated more recently. Now the small there is, I believe, around 50 employees and less than 150 million turnover. So we did a comparison of this definition with definitions which are around, so in developed countries and developing countries. Now if you do a comparison with developed countries, it fits really well, State Bank's definition, Pakistan's. Because remember, in developed countries you'll have, if you look at sort of this distribution of enterprises, it will be more heavy towards medium enterprises. In a country like ours, there's a greater proportion, 90% perhaps, of small and micro enterprises. So it has to be in light of that. If you look at developing countries and compare the State Bank's definition, developing country averages are less in terms of employment and also in terms of turnover for medium. So on average, employment would be between 100, 150 and turnover would be 200 and 300 million. Comparable sort of rupees. So we're on a higher side when we define medium enterprises. Now, as I said, getting the definition right is of critical importance because you cannot possibly lump a company which has sort of 750 million turnover, 200 employees with a company which has 15 people and 50 million rupees turnover in terms of exemptions. So one has to be very careful. In terms of the stakeholder analysis which we've done and from the actual stakeholders, SMEs, and I'm talking about around more than 200 around the country, for them also this definition was on a higher side. So in their perception, medium enterprises were around employees 100, 150 with a turnover not exceeding 200 million. Because it's generally below that these constraints really truly become binding. Okay, so that is, given what we've done, this is the feedback.
Right, we have representatives from SMEs over here with us. We're lucky to have them here. So, Rahmatullah Sahab, what do you think of the definition that has emerged from the consultation that has been recently conducted?
As everybody said, that definition of SME has a great role to play, especially for the stakeholders, and we in the trade and industry, we definitely give more importance to this factor because we are known, we are identified. We belong to which sector of investment, across the board, as by Ram said, that across the board we really want to have the definition according to the volume of the business. That should be S or M, should be accepted by all, you know. Banks are doing something else, government departments are doing something else, and it is definitely required that we must have a stable, acceptable definition of SMEs, because as you know, in the developed countries, just a few months back, I had a delegation from Japan, and they were talking about millions of dollars, and still they were telling them that we are SMEs. So it has its own perspective all over the world, and especially as said in developing countries, we definitely need to have in our emerging business circles here in Pakistan, we definitely have great importance of this factor, and it must be accepted and acknowledged by all. And definitely it is one more thing that we need to look into it and further clarify and make it workable and make it acceptable by all. Only then we can take further step ahead.
So that's how I was just wondering that since the definition we're talking about that, and I would like to have your opinion on this as well. If you look at the economy of Pakistan, over 96% fall within a category of what is defined as micro enterprises. So what would be your understanding if you were to define the SME sector? Would you distinguish between this? Because we were talking about employment size of up to 100 or 150 for small. That means we're including that percentage, a large percentage of micro enterprises whose requirements are completely different from the kind of support that is required by the small enterprises.
Okay, yeah. I have a slightly different perspective here. Maybe we may not be able to come up with a definition today, but let's first identify who do you want to include in this sector. As I started my own story, I started as a salesman. Now, Chapri Wala, single kiosk guy, who is an entrepreneur, who is a finance manager, a CEO, and he has one property system and has a bank account. Is he your SME or not? If he is, then the dynamics are very different. You cannot have one shopkeeper and you cannot have small industries together. Now, as a definition, you can probably cover that. But one of my concerns as I represent unisegments, so I am looking after a single person all the way up to people who have more than 50 or 100 employees. Likewise, shopkeepers. Now, on an average, a shop has about 10 to 12 employees. A large shop or a large business in that category has about 20, 25 employees. The way we look at it is that there should be three sections. One, and it's not about the revenue, because when we talk about 800 million or 250 million, those are probably Spanish, that's fine. But in order to develop the sector, we need to understand their dynamics, and my learned colleagues sitting here working on these economic policies, we need to see the grassroots issues up here now. I would say 0 to 15 or 20, where you can actually cover small entrepreneurs, person who have 2 rickshaws, person who have a small superstore, person who has a laundry shop, person who has a small auto shop, a mechanic shop. You talk about 96, I think there's more than 96% of the people who are into this business are these type of people. Then we move into the sector whereby there are small manufacturers. If you look at the geographical coverage, if you look at the number of companies, there are a handful of those companies. And whenever we talk about SMEs, we do talk about them, but we always, consciously or unconsciously, are representing people, and we're talking about manufacturing facilities. We're talking about a huge agricultural land. We're talking about processing. We're talking about creating something who are already halfway through. They are important, we represent them as well. But today I think now it is time to really focus on slightly unprivileged people who have inspiration. I have met so many people who wanted to have, multiply their shop from 1 to 2, who wants to get into franchising, who wants to bring some international franchise. Especially the new graduates coming in, new entrepreneurs, they want to do something, and then we're going to talk about finances later on. Probably Brian can help us on that. But right now, to be more specific on your question, is probably, I think definition is an outcome of this discussion. The question is, do we need to include an organization or a business having 0 to 5 or 10 employees? If yes, then that businesses represents more than 90%, because most of them, all of us, the way we define in our internal discussion, anybody who generates revenue, self-revenue, is an SME. Now, if I am that person, then I need to have the policy which can help me and represent me and help me grow through SMEDA as a whole. So I hope I raised that point.
Yeah, we'll be coming back to the definition bit of, yes, lightweight.
I just wanted to add something. When we talk about the definition, we need to be very clear about it, because with the definition goes the outside entities, the involvement of the business. Imagine if you're treating a business which has 20, 25 to 60 people working for them, and a business with 250. Will they be able to deal with all there are 20 to 24 institutes that are dealing with these businesses on daily basis. Somebody comes from one of these institutes and reminds them that you have not done this, you have not done that. Not only that, these small businesses, if you treat them like a business which has 250 people, are they capable of paying all these taxes, old age pensions, these social securities and all these things? There's a lot of money. They cannot afford to pay all that. So we need to have a definition for small and medium.
So that distinction has to be
so
there.
that there's a distinction, and they are treated accordingly, and they make money from it, instead of entangling themselves every day with these institutions that are so reminders. Because one of the research which we did, most of the people, SMEs, complained about corruption. So corruption is rampant with these institutions, and these small businesses cannot flourish because how many people they pay? You don't know what they go through. So we need to have this definition to differentiate between the two groups so that they can benefit from it.
Please. It's been, this is a very important factor of our SMEs, small, medium, and micro. Micro we've been talking about. For small we've been talking